I've been carrying something for you. Not a name, not a face, just a quiet certainty that somewhere, somehow, you already exist. And I've been writing to you in the margins of my days, in moments when the world slows down, when I catch myself wondering what your laughter sounds like, what silence feels like when you're near. This isn't about searching anymore, it's about preparing. It's about becoming someone worthy of the love I believe we'll build together. I don't know when our paths will cross. I don't know what season will hold our first conversation or what small ordinary moment will change everything. But I know this. I'm writing to you now because love begins before the meeting. It begins in the intention, in the choice to keep my heart open even when it's easier to close it, in the decision to believe that what we'll have is worth the wait. So here's what I want you to know. Even before you know me, here's what I'm holding in this unopened envelope, sealed with hope and patience, waiting for your hands to break the seal. This is my promise. This is my truth. This is everything I'm becoming so that when you arrive, I'll be ready. Are you ready to hear what I've been holding for you? If you're still here, stay with me. I'm going to reveal something at the end that you don't want to miss, and if you're interested, subscribe to my channel. I used to think love was about finding someone, like they were hidden somewhere in the world, and if I searched hard enough, looked in the right places, said the right things, I'd stumble upon them. But that's not how this works, is it? Love isn't about discovery, it's about recognition. It's about becoming so aligned with who you truly are that when the right person appears, you don't have to search at all. You just know. And here's what I've learned in the waiting. I had to stop looking for you and start building myself into someone you'd want to find. Not because I needed to perform or prove anything, but because real love, the kind that lasts, requires two people who've done the work. Two people who aren't using each other to fill empty spaces, but who are already whole, choosing to intertwine their lives anyway. I've spent years thinking I was incomplete without you, that my life was somehow less meaningful because you weren't in it yet. But that's not fair to either of us. It places a weight on you that you should never have to carry. You're not here to complete me, you're here to walk beside me, to build something either of us could create alone. And for that to happen, I need to show up fully formed, not halfway broken, hoping you'll fix the rest. So I've been working on myself, not in some performative way, not to become someone I'm not, but to strip away everything that isn't truly me, to let go of the versions of myself I created to please others, to fit into spaces that were never mine. I've been learning what it means to be comfortable in my own company, to find joy and solitude, to build a life I'm proud of even when no one's watching. Because here's the truth I've never told anyone. I used to be terrified of being alone. Not the physical kind of alone, but the emotional kind. The kind where you wonder if anyone will ever truly see you. If anyone will ever love the parts of you that are difficult, inconvenient, messy. I used to think that fear meant I needed someone immediately, that it was proof I was incomplete. Or what if that fear was actually preparation? What if learning to be alone was teaching me how to be present when you arrive, how to appreciate your presence without depending on it for my happiness, how to love you freely instead of desperately? I think about the life we'll build together. I imagine quiet mornings where we don't need to fill the silence with words because the silence itself feels like conversation. I imagine disagreements that don't end in destruction because we've both learned that conflict isn't the opposite of love. It's proof that we care enough to work through difficult things. I imagine building a home that isn't just a place, but a feeling, where we both know we can return no matter how chaotic the world becomes. But before all of that, I imagine the moment we meet. Not the idealized version where everything's perfect and we both say exactly the right thing. The real version where maybe I'm nervous, where maybe you're uncertain, where we're both carrying our own histories, our own scars, our own fears about whether this could actually be different. And here's what I want you to know about that moment. I'm not expecting you to arrive perfectly healed. I'm not expecting you to have all the answers. I'm expecting you to be human, to be real, to be someone who's been through their own journey and carries the wisdom of it. Someone who knows that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up even when it's hard. I've been practicing patience, not the passive kind where I just wait for life to happen to me, but the active kind, the kind where I'm building myself into someone, nay, who can hold space for both of us, who can listen when you're struggling without trying to fix everything, who can celebrate your wins without feeling threatened, who can be honest about my own needs without making them your responsibility. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I used to think love was about sacrifice, about giving up parts of yourself to make room for someone else. And maybe there's some truth in that, but it's not the whole picture. Real love isn't about a racer, it's about expansion. It's about becoming more of yourself because someone sees you clearly and loves what they see. I want that with you. I want to be the person who sees your ambitions and encourages them, who understands your need for space and respects it, who celebrates your independence while also offering partnership. I want to build something where we're both free to grow, where we're not threatened by each other's evolution, but excited by it. And I'm learning that this requires me to be clear about who I am, to know my values, my boundaries, my vision for the future. Not so I can demand that you fit into some predetermined mold, but so that when we come together, we're building on solid ground. So we're not trying to figure out the foundation while the walls are already going up. Have you felt this too? This sense that preparing for love is just as important as finding it, that the work we do alone is what makes us capable of doing the work together. I hope you have. I hope you're out there somewhere doing your own version of this, building yourself, healing what needs to be healed, becoming clear about what you want and what you're willing to give. Because when we meet, I don't want us to be two people looking for salvation. I want us to be two people choosing to create something beautiful together. I've been thinking about trust lately, not the surface kind, the kind you give freely to strangers at coffee shops or co-workers in meetings. I'm talking about the deep kind, the kind that asks you to be seen completely, vulnerabilities and all, and to believe that what's seen will be held with care. That's the kind of trust I want to build with you. And I'm realizing it starts long before we meet. It starts with trusting myself, trusting that I know what I need, trusting that I can communicate those needs without apology or shame, trusting that if something doesn't feel right, I'll have the courage to speak up instead of shrinking back into silence. Because here's what I've learned. I can't ask you to trust me with your heart if I haven't learned to trust myself with my own. For years, I gave that trust away too easily. I let other people's opinions shape my decisions. I let fear convince me to stay in situations that were slowly dimming my light. I told myself it was easier to adapt, to be flexible, to not rock the boat. But that wasn't trust. That was self-abandonment. And every time I abandoned myself, I made it harder to believe that anyone else would stay. So I've been practicing something different. I've been learning to listen to that quiet voice inside, the one that knows the truth even when it's uncomfortable, the one that whispers, "This isn't right," or "You deserve better," or "Wait, there's something more." I've been learning to honor that voice instead of silencing it. And in doing so, I'm building the foundation of trust we'll need when you arrive. Because when we're together, there will be moments that test us, moments where old wounds surface, moments where we have to choose between protecting ourselves and opening up. And in those moments, I want to be someone who chooses vulnerability, not recklessly, not without discernment, but courageously. I want to trust that what we're building is strong enough to hold the weight of our truth. But here's the truth. I've never told anyone. I'm still learning what that looks like. I still have days where I want to hide, where showing up fully feels like too much, where I wonder if it's safer to keep parts of myself locked away just in case. And I imagine you'll have those days too, days where your walls go up without you even realizing it, days where trust feels like a risk you're not sure you can take. And that's okay. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for presence, for the willingness to try even when it's scary, for the courage to say, "I'm struggling to trust right now," instead of pretending everything's fine, because that honesty, that's actually trust in action. That's you trusting me enough to show me the struggle. I think about the conversations we'll have, not just the easy ones, the ones where we're laughing and finishing each other's sentences and everything feels effortless. I think about the hard ones, the ones where we have to navigate disappointment or misandra or the inevitable friction that comes when two people merge their lives. I think about learning your communication style, understanding what you need when you're upset, figuring out how to fight fair, and I'm preparing for that now. I'm learning to pause before reacting, to ask questions before making assumptions, to remember that you and I are on the same team even when we disagree, to understand that every conflict is actually an opportunity, a chance to deepen our understanding of each other, to practice repair, to prove that our connection can survive difficulty. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I used to think trust was something you either had or didn't have, that it was immediate, instinctive, all or nothing. But trust is built in moments. in small, consistent actions that prove someone's words align with their behavior, in the way someone shows up when it's inconvenient, in their willingness to apologize when they've hurt you, in their commitment to growth even when it's uncomfortable. So, I'm showing myself that I'm trustworthy, I'm keeping promises I make to myself, I'm honoring my own boundaries, I'm doing the work I said I would do. Because when you arrive, I want to offer you a track record, not of perfection, but of integrity, of someone who does what they say they'll do, of someone who takes responsibility for their impact, of someone who's learned that trust isn't just given, it's earned, maintained, and protected. I want to be worthy of your vulnerability. I want you to feel safe telling me the things you've never told anyone else, the fears that keep you up at night, the dreams you're almost embarrassed to admit you have, the parts of your story that still hurt to touch. And I want you to know that when you share those things with me, I'll hold them carefully. I, I won't weaponize them in arguments or dismiss them when they're inconvenient. I'll honor them as sacred. Have you been preparing too? Have you been learning what it means to trust yourself so that trusting someone else doesn't feel like such a leap? Have you been doing the work to understand your patterns, to heal what needs healing, to become someone who can receive love as fully as you give it? I hope so, because what we're building requires both of us to show up ready, not perfect, not without wounds, but ready to do the work of weaving our lives together with intention and care. I've been thinking about what home will feel like with you. Not the physical space, though I imagine that too. The little details we'll choose together, the way our different styles will blend into something uniquely ours. I'm thinking about the emotional home, the one where we both know we can return after a hard day and be met with understanding, where we don't have to perform or pretend, where we can be tired, uncertain, messy, and still be loved. That kind of home requires trust. It requires knowing that when I'm at my worst, you won't leave, that when you're struggling, I'll stay, that we're both committed to this, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And I'm building that commitment now in how I show up for myself and how I honor my own word and how I practice staying even when leaving feels easier. Before you go, hear this one thing. Trust isn't about never being hurt. It's about believing that when hurt happens, and it will, because we're human, we'll face it together, we'll repair it together, we'll use it to build something even stronger. That's the promise I'm holding for us. That's the foundation I'm laying while I wait. I've been learning what it means to be ready, not ready in the sense that I've figured everything out or become some perfect version of myself. Ready in the sense that I've created space in my life for you, real space, not just a gap in my schedule or an empty side of the bed, but emotional space, room for your dreams, your needs, your way of moving through the world. For so long, I filled that space with distractions, with work that consumed me, friendships that demanded everything, habits that kept me busy but not fulfilled. I told myself I was building a life. And in some ways I was, but I was also avoiding the deeper question. What kind of life did I want to invite someone into? What kind of partnership was I actually preparing for? And here's what I realized. I was scared. Scared that if I really made room for love, if I really prepared for you, and you didn't come, or worse, came and left, I'd have to face that emptiness directly. So I kept myself full, overscheduled, overcommitted, always moving, never still enough to feel the longing. But that's not readiness. That's defense. And I don't want to defend myself against you. I want to welcome you. Which means I had to do something terrifying. I had to make space and trust that it wouldn't stay empty forever. I had to believe that the longing wasn't a weakness, but a compass pointing me towards something real. So I've been simplifying my life, not in some dramatic way where I abandoned everything that mattered, but intentionally. I've been asking myself, does this bring me closer to who I want to be? Does this align with the partnership I'm trying to build? Does this leave room for someone else to enter my world without me having to demolish everything first? And slowly I've been creating that room. I've been setting boundaries with work so that my whole identity isn't wrapped up in productivity. I've been nurturing friendships that are deep rather than just numerous. I've been learning to be still, to sit with myself in the quiet moments, to find peace in solitude rather than panic. Because here's the truth I've never told anyone. I used to equate busy with worthiness. I thought if I stopped moving, stopped achieving, stopped proving myself, I'd become invisible, that no one would want someone who wasn't constantly striving, constantly improving, constantly on the move. But that's exhausting, and it's not sustainable. And more importantly, It's not the foundation for the kind of love I want with you. I don't want us to be two people running parallel races, occasionally glancing at each other between milestones. I want us to be two people walking together, choosing our pace together, knowing when to sprint and when to rest. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I realized that being ready for you meant being ready to slow down, to prioritize connection over achievement, to understand that our relationship isn't something I fit into the margins of my life. It's something I build my life around, not in a codependent way where you become my entire world, but in a centered way where you're woven into the fabric of everything I do. I think about the rhythms we'll create together, the small rituals that will become ours. Morning coffee where we share what we're each carrying into the day, evening walks where we process everything that happened, weekend mornings where we stay in bed a little longer, not because we're avoiding the world, but because being together feels like the best possible use of time. But for those rhythms to exist, I need to create space for them now. I need to prove to myself that I can protect that time, that I won't sacrifice what matters for what's urgent, that when you arrive, you won't be competing with a life that's already overflowing. You'll be entering a life that's been intentionally designed with room for us. Have you been making space too? Have you been examining your life and asking what truly belongs? What's just filler? What needs to shift to make room for partnership? Have you been learning the difference between being full and being fulfilled? I hope you have, because what we're building requires both of us to be present, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It requires us to show up with the time and energy that real intimacy demands. And that means being brave enough to say no to things that don't serve our shared vision, even when they seem important on the surface. I've been thinking about what it means to choose you every day, because that's what commitment is, isn't it? It's not just the big decision on one significant day, it's the thousand small decisions that follow. The choice to come home to you instead of working late again. The choice to have the difficult conversation instead of letting resentment build. The choice to prioritize our connection even when other things are screaming for attention. And I'm practicing that now. I'm practicing choosing the things that matter over the things that merely demand. I'm learning to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important. I'm building the muscle of commitment in other areas of my life so that when you arrive, it's already strong, because I know there will be days when choosing us feels hard, when my ambitions pull me in one direction, and our relationship asks me to stay present, when an opportunity arises that would mean less time together, when I have to decide what I'm willing to sacrifice and what I'm not. And in those moments, I want to have already proven to myself that I can make the harder choice, that I can honor my commitments even when they're inconvenient. But here's what I want you to know. Choosing you won't feel like sacrifice. It will feel like alignment, like finally understanding what I've been building toward all along. Like the relief of knowing that success without you isn't actually success at all. It's just achievement. And achievement is hollow when there's no one to share it with. I imagine telling you about my day, not just the highlights, the texture of it, the small frustrations, the unexpected joys, the moments where I thought of you even thou. We haven't met yet. I imagine learning about yours, understanding what energizes you, what drains you, what makes you feel alive. I imagine building a life where we're both fully ourselves, but also completely intertwined. And that requires readiness. It requires me to know myself well enough to communicate clearly, to have done enough